Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Yes, hello and welcome to episode 3 of the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show for 2025. I'm Steve Beech, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Dave Parkinson. Dave, it's been a busy week for a Challenge Cup action, hasn't it?
Oh, it certainly has, Steve. After all those weather disruptions last week, we finally got to see far more fantastic round one games, and there's so much to talk about, including some big wins and exciting upcoming fixtures.
Yeah, so let's kick things off by reviewing the round one result from the Challenge Cup. First up, Crosfields, massive 50 over 50 point win over Maryport.
Yeah, what a performance that was, and it was one of those where Crosfields kind of dominated it, didn't they? But I actually thought that Maryport gave a good account of themselves as well.
Yeah. And it was difficult, wasn't it, to assess at the end of the day, because we spoke about Maryport time and time again on here when we've done our sort of Gala roundups and a lot of the teams up that area. I mean, obviously the only ones we really know to any sort of degree are the ones that have got a first team that are in the NCL. Mm-hmm. You know, so you've got some idea. But Maryport, I mean, even to us, we knew a few names, but we didn't know how they played or anything like that. They were a young side, but I'd give them credit. They gave a wrong, and the score's a wrong reflection really to what the game was like. If you saw that score, you'd have thought, "Oh, that's a."
I mean, it was a commanding victory, wasn't it? But it was one of those where I think when the chances came, Crosfields managed to ice so many of them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when the chances came the other way, they couldn't make it count, could they, Maryport? Yeah. Due to some good defence. And it seems funny when you mention a scoreline of 52 points to 0, but there was some really good defence on the show, wasn't there?
I mean, it could have been a bigger score than that against Maryport, because there was a couple of really, really good defensive, sort of try-line defensive players going on.
And on another day, Maryport could have had at least 3 tries of their own, couldn't they? There was that one with the big intercept on the halfway line off Stanway, and Ellis Nixon just got hauled down close to the line. Then they managed a period of pressure, didn't they, where I would guess, you know, in other circumstances they'd have found a way over the line. And there was a couple of other occasions as well with slid kicks into the in-goal area, and some brave attack, particularly from the little number 9, who I thought was really, really good throughout.
Yeah, I've got to say as well that the experience they'll take away from that, not just the fact that they've, you know, been playing in the Challenge Cup, the fact that they've, you know, long way to travel. That always, you know, if you're not used to doing those sorts of distances, it can be, you know, sort of take you out of you. And also going up against a team which, you know, let's be honest, I've been ensconced in the NCL for quite a while now. So, I mean, it's got to be good in that sort of sense. Crowd as well, as per usual at these Challenge Cup early rounds, was and they brought a couple of coaches down with them from Maryport, and obviously there's quite a few turned out from locally to come and watch the game.
Little cracking atmosphere, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it was a little bit chilly, but it was classic sort of early season rugby league, wasn't it? Weather, game, everything.
So those were our thoughts, but let's now listen to some audio highlights from the game. Forks with a strong surge just over that 10 again. They're still channeling that right hand side of the field as it comes towards the middle, and Stanway kicks it over to this left side. Will it sit up? No, it won't. There was enough pressure that was put on, but they're still in possession. Crosfields, and they're going to score the first try of the game. Well, it didn't land first of all for Luke Walker, but they managed to play on, and Ben Lomax crosses for the first try of this cup tie, and he'll have to play it 10 metres from the line, about 20 metres in from touch. He still manages to struggle and make a couple of metres. Grote goes, puts it to the right, they're in, and they're over, and it's that man Tom Smith who's crashed his way through for the second try of the game. Stanway goes directly to Taylor Boyne, who's on the edge of that 20 metre line. He'll play this to Grote. Grote lines it up for Brown. It's a big surge, takes 3 to get to grips with him. They just about have wrestled him. He's still on his feet though as he plays it. Groat, long ball out to Stanway onto Steele out to Abram. They're going down the right side. It's opened up, and Joe Coelove touches down. That was clinical. They used the numbers, the accuracy of the passing. That was straight off the training ground. Taylor to his left to Millington out to Stanway, oh, he was under pressure, got the ball away. Boyne, he's just going to be stopped short.
Good defence. Can they keep him out here?
Well, Abram has managed to sneak his way over from dummy half. It was too much for them to contend with. Woodall did his level best to get underneath the man, so too did Moore, but he had a little bit too much momentum there, and they've crossed for their fourth try. Have Crosfields to make it 16 points to 0. Good surge forward once more from Tom Brown.
Brown and Licker have had absolutely barnstorm since they've been on.
He's made 20 metres, those Brown. And slipped it out the back to Taylor. Taylor taking them on through the middle. 5 metres out from the line now. Is it building for a fifth try here for Crosfields? It goes left to Stanway. Stanway just delayed his pass. They're driving through, and Taylor Boyne goes in for the score. Millington to play it. Ball on this right with Steele. Steele just lays it on.
Lovely ball.
He's charging through. He's got support as well. Jamie Abram will go over. And that was a great pass and an even better run from Nathan Lyons. Straight to the fullback. And then he handed on to his own fullback. And Jamie Abram scores the first try of the second half, which comes after 6 minutes of this period. Comes down this right side to Steele. Short pass there for Liku, who hands it on to Coelove. Coelove kicking for the infield. Will it bounce in favour of Steele? He's picked it up. He's got players on him, but he offloads to Stanway, who puts a brilliant pass out, and it's going to be jogged in, and they're going to score. It's Ben Lomax who scored. Dylan Bradish. Now 25 metres away from the line, 10 metres in from touch. Ball swept back towards the middle. Steele handing on to Millington. Millington running strongly, 15 metres out. There's got to be players out wide that want the hands on the ball as Stanway takes it into contact, feeds it wide, bullet pass, they're in. Wow, brilliant movement, and that is Luke Walker who ends up siding his way through.
I'll tell you what, I mean, that injury in the first half hasn't seemed to take its toll at all, does it?
Even it's been a bit... he's picked up by Liku into the backfield. Look at the big fella go. He pops the ball out as well. This could be a sensational try directly from the kickoff. Liku with his DNA all over it, handing the ball on, and Nathan Lyons beating the rest. Williams spins it onto Steele to Stanway out the back to Abram further wide. Here's Lomax does get his hat-trick. There's no denying him that time.
No, not at all.
And it takes Crosfields over the 50-point mark, but it goes to ground.
There it is.
The referee's whistle sounds, and Crosfields are through to round 2 of the Betfred Challenge Cup, a tie away at Barrow Raiders.
Green Cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
Got to say, absolutely superb game there, Parky.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. What a starter for us as well. I mean, you had a hat-trick there for Ben Lomax, didn't you? A couple of tries there for Jamie Abram. And then that run from Elliot Liku when they went for the short kick-off, didn't they? That's right, They thought, we've got nothing to lose. They'd put a full set to basically run after this ball, and it bounced the other way, straight into the arms.
I mean, give Liku his due as well. He didn't just come straight to him. He made a point of moving forward to go and get it as well.
He did move on to it.
And arguably, he didn't have to. Do you know what I mean? The game was more or less in the bag then to a certain degree. But, I mean, you've got to say, right, that's if that's your attitude, we're this far well in front in the game, and I'm or you're going to do that. That shows it's these accolades to going to become for it. Because do you know what? Even before that, and I'd said, and obviously said that about Brown as well. When they all 4 props, but certainly those 2 when they came off the bench, they actually sort of made loads and loads of meters, really, so laid the pack for the likes of Stanway and his other halves to, to spread things about and get a lot of those tries.
Did you not notice that it was a clever use of those players as well, though, because Liku ended up playing probably about half an hour as a back row player.
That's
as well.
right, because I mentioned
he shuffled out a step wide.
Yeah, because I jokingly said, didn't I, that I think they're putting him in centre. Because again, throughout the game, I mentioned his passing ability. He's lovely, soft hands, sort of big lad, really, really. And using them really, really well. And it was a shame that Maryport couldn't get on the scoreboard. But as I said, did it show a lot of endeavour there, and I'm sure they'll get lots out of that game.
They did. I mean, I really rated the efforts of Ellis Nixon. The 13 and the captain, who I thought did particularly well. But yes, Crosfields in the next round to play against Barrow Raiders.
Yeah. One thing that we were trialling or looking at trialling, obviously there was the commentary which we were doing, which was our first of the season. But we managed to get the VO footage from Crosfields, because we were looking at trying to marry up our commentary to obviously the video, and I mean, I must admit we managed to get that done, and we put it up on our YouTube website if you want to have a look at that, if you want to actually see the game as a whole. So I know a lot of these teams put the VOs out, but don't have the beauty of having us commentate on here at Parker. But
Is it beauty?
It was a thing of beauty.
A thing of beauty.
Now, but what I'm saying is, if we can do that moving forward, if the clubs that we're going to commentate on, if they've got a VO and they're prepared to, let us have the footage that's after the game at some point, we will certainly marry up our commentary to the game. And then they can, I think it just makes it a bit better. I know some people over the years have said, from a Sky Sports point of view, that, do you know what, this game would be far better if they didn't have the commentators on it. And, I will hold my hands up and say I have been one of those persons in the past. But nevertheless, we feel it's something that we can offer. And sort of extend what we do to a little bit more length, because obviously it's not the easiest thing in the world these days. I know trying to get games televised is very expensive. If this is a way that we can, sort of help with that in any way, shape or form to help promote the game a little bit more. And as I always say, let's work smarter, not harder at the end of the day.
You do say that.
That's going to be my catchphrase. I've got T-shirts, merch.
I think it's going to be your 2025 motto. I think 2024 was lovely pass.
Oh, yeah, pass. It's still there, though. It's still there. Oh.
But this time, work smarter, not harder. I like it. Just try telling that to some community coach who wants his prop to take the ball up 20 times in a game.
Yeah.
And then the prop's only gone in for 10 carries.
Yeah.
And he'll just say, I'm just working smarter, not harder. I've heard this of those lads who were on 13 pro out.
Elliot Liku was doing it on Saturday with them little passes, I've got to say. And do you know what? If you heard the commentary there from Parky, which is absolutely superb, but the Elliot Liku one, if you watch that along with Parky's commentary on watch Elliot Liku, watch it a few times, just watch him, because he tries to support his break, the guy who passes the ball out to. He tries to support, but when he goes in, he turns around and he does he's dancing up and down the touchline and everything, and big raps to him. Well done, Elliot. Absolutely superb.
Now, as we are going to be doing over the course of the year as well, when we go to a game, we do like getting post-match interviews and the thoughts of the people involved. And this one was no different. So after the game, I caught up with Crosfields prop Tom Brown, and this is what he had to say.
Okay, I'm with Tom Brown. Tom, how was that for you for a start?
Yeah, good game. I think managed to get some cobwebs blown off. Do you know what I mean? Because it's first game in 3-4 months. So we've been practicing on stuff in training. To actually see it come against an opposition is always good to see. You can see what's working, what's not, what needs a bit more practice. But I think atmosphere was good coming into it. Do you know what I mean? We had quite relaxed in camp, and everyone's just here for the joy of the cup. Do you know what I mean? So it's good to be, and fair play for them coming down. It's a long trip. It's a good day out in it. So it was good to see.
Other sides have pulled out of the cup, haven't they? For starters, you know. So as I say, it's full credit to them. And I thought at times they really did test you.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think we had about 3 or 4 sets on our line at one point, so they were really coming in big and hard. We had some good runners there, do you know what I mean? They were throwing the ball about, so it made us definitely keep us on our toes a bit more and not think it's going to be an easy day, like. So it's what you want as well, do you know what I mean? It's a good way to blow out and show what we're here for. So I think everyone's really picked up from that when we had them 3 or 4 sets on our line. We boosted a bit from that, showing that everyone's there working for each other, which is that good camaraderie that we want.
That was a good test of character as well, wasn't it? You know, I'm thinking especially after the sin bin when Jamie came up with that fantastic tackle. Yeah. I don't know how he made the tackle.
he's a fast lad, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He absolutely saved our skin there, because we did say we set ourselves a few standards throughout the match of completing so many sets each time, and I think at one point after a while we said, right, let's not concede here, and I think Willow knocked the ball out for dead. Their lad was a fingertip away. Jamie saved one there, do you know what I mean? So it shows how much everyone was buying into it, and how much we all stepped up today, I think.
This feels like it's a Crosfield side that has a different emphasis this year. Would it be right in thinking that, you know, sort of the way that you wanted to play? You've always been a team that's wanted to throw the ball around, but I get the feeling there's just something that feels like the different this year.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say we've had a few new lads come down, which has really helped improve us, strengthen us, and give us a bit more depth, which is something that is what we've needed at times. Do you know what I mean? So having a few more players who can play a bit more and just take the pressure off the other lads, I think it just gives you a lot more options, which we're seeing. As I say, we're doing a lot more in training just because of the rules that there's not a lot of contact more, so we're working more on the shape and trying to figure and get that perfect. So I think it's really paying off, and we're seeing the results.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you know, I know we're really early in the year. You've got another game in the Challenge Cup up at Barrow.
Yeah.
How do you feel about going up against toe-to-toe against some ex-Super League players?
Do you know what, mate? It's part of the cup, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think it's a good test of character for us. Do you know what I mean? At some point, you want to play people who are ranked higher than you, and it gives us a good showing of where we are, where we can go to, and sort of the standards we want to meet. And I think, as I say, a lot of people look for it, but excited. It's going to be a tough match, I think, because it's, like you say, it's probably still snowing there or something, so it's going to be a tough one. But no, I think everyone's really up for it, and it's going to be a good day. So hopefully we can go there, do ourselves proud, and do another performance like that.
And quick word for yourself from the Prop Forwards Union, because I thought all 4 props were outstanding.
Yeah, I mean it was a tough lot of work we got through there, and I think the shape we're trying to play at the minute is doing a bit more hands-on, just straightforward. We've seen the gaps, trying to draw as many in and a bit of a wrestle. So, like I say, we've had a few new lads come down, stepping up there, and I think it's just really helps everyone else out to relieve the pressure. It just lets everyone else play how they want to. Do you know what I mean? We can go a bit more fast, a bit harder. We don't have to worry about conserving energy in that sense, because we know we've got a big impact coming off the bench and other lads who can step up and support that. So it's been really good.
Now I'm guessing Wembley isn't on your item of things of going to.
Well, I've pre-booked, but you know,
as a player, you might have your seats already booked. But what does the rest of the pre-season kind of look like after this cup next week?
I think obviously see how the next round goes, and then obviously from there we'll see. But I think it's still going to be focusing on keeping the shape. I think the season starts mid-March, so it's going to come around pretty quick and soon. I think there might be a Warrington Cup in there as well, so we've still got some preparation to look forward to, and we can reflect on these 2 matches that we're going to have, see some weak areas that we want to just slightly tweak or improve on. It gives us something to focus on in training a bit more and ready for the season, because it's going to be a good season. There's some good teams in there, so I think we've got a high standard to raise this year.
And again, a lot of locals are there, so
yeah,
and a couple of long trips as well.
Yeah, so
I'm sure you're looking forward to coming back from work.
Yeah, I don't know how to break it to the missus yet, but it's we'll have to see how that goes. But there's some good away days, as I say. I think we've got 2 Cumbrian teams in there, a York, a couple of Leeds, and then, like I said, the locals. We've got Woolston right on the doorstep, who it's always good to have the derby and hopefully win that one again. And a couple of Wigan teams are always tough. So I think it's a good character this year of where we want to be and the standards we want to set.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.
Right, Parky. From the Challenge Cup, are we going to have a quick look at a couple of the other games?
Yeah, we can do. I know that you were keeping your beady eye on Thatto Heath against Orrell St James. Ended up being a closer run thing than everybody expected.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like, because I remember speaking to Mike Woods a few weeks ago, and he was saying they were hoping that he could get them out of the habit of almost all losing games. I think they would have lost that game last season. So they gave away so many tries in the last few minutes, didn't they?
Yeah. If I'm not wrong, he was interviewed after, and he mentioned a sentence which I thought was great. Was snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, probably they could have done last season. Orrell St James, you got to take your hat off to him. I spoke, if you remember rightly, about them losing Kai Siane, who in fact scored the first try for Thatto Heath, and I had a good game, had a solid enough game, but they did, they hung in there. I think they've got an Australian guy who's playing. I think he's 9. I'm not sure. I think if I'm not wrong, his name is. I'm not sure. It's Taylor. And he was pretty, sort of on the ball for Orrell. But give them the due. They started the fight back. It was a little bit too late.
He's not an Australian, by the way.
Isn't he?
No, he played for England Community Lions a few years
really?
ago. But has been playing Sam Lewis, it was.
It was, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Loose forward.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So Lewis has been playing, he has been playing in Australia.
That's what I'm going to mix up.
Out in Australia, but he is a Wigan lad.
Yeah.
Workhorse.
Yeah.
Complete
workhorse.
Yeah,
you could tell that. Yeah. The other thing was as well that they put a move on, which when I was watching I thought, they did exactly the same move against Hurst Finch a couple of seasons back. They put the same move on against, I'm not sure, it might have been York Acorn who they played last year in the Challenge Cup. And it was the exact same move.
So are you saying teams don't do the homework?
I'm just saying, if I could spot that, then... is it called a pep move or something like that?
See, I call it a pep play.
Pep play,
I
think. Give them the due, yeah. And they were absolutely spot on both sides. And again, afterwards, two of our friends of the show, Mike Woods and Orrell coach
Sean McHugh,
yeah. And do you know what? They didn't cut down to see if Sean had his flip-flops on. That's what I was disappointed about. But yeah, again, giving the game big raps. Not just the fact that it was about the game in the sense of just Orrell against that, with the fact that this is what the NCL and the Northwest Men's and sort of amateur rugby has to offer. There is a good quality there, and as always, both very respectful of each other and the game as a whole, and it was great to see.
There was loads of quality on Saturday as well, isn't there, with the game that was televised by the BBC and was, I think it's still available on the iPlayer actually, and will be for however many days, and that was between Waterhead and Lee Miners Rangers. Ended up going into extra time. It was 8-all at full time.
Yeah.
Andy Philbin scoring the try for Lee Miners Rangers.
He was 8-all at full time. Yeah. He was actually 8-all at half time as well.
Oh, so no points in the second half at all.
So it was. It was the pitch was obviously. We know what the pitch is like there at Waterhead. It started to cut up quite a bit because obviously the weather, how it's been over the last month or so, it's not been the greatest in that sense. So we'll have to see, sort of. How Waterhead go on in the next round, but it was a great team against two teams we've spoke to and watched before.
Very much so. And what a finish it ended up being as well. Marcus Geener scoring the winning try for Waterhead in that extra time period, 12 points to 8, which sets up a nice draw against Featherstone Rovers as far as Waterhead are concerned. A quick flick through the other results in the Challenge Cup. Loch Lane defeated Doncaster Tolbar 50 points to 10. Alton Raiders won 28 points to 12 at London Chargers. West Hull put 90 points on Edinburgh Eagles to win 90 points to 0. The Royal Navy came from behind to defeat Murfield 26 points to 20. There was the game that we were at involving Crosfields and Maryport. It was a thriller between the Army and the RAF, with the Army getting through by 22 points to 16. Stanley Rangers stood toe-to-toe with Hunslet, but Hunslet ARLFC winning the end there by 34 points to 20. West Bowling defeating Cutsick Raiders by 48 points to 16. Dewsbury Moor getting the better of Hurst Finch, but this was a close tie as well. 20 points to 12, and then Ince Rose Bridge putting the points on mainly in the first half against Longhorns, but winning in the end by 56 points to 12. That just leaves one game, Steve. That was a game I was at on Sunday. It was the Great Britain Police hosting York Acorn, and this was over at Portico. My first visit down to Portico. I know you've been a few times.
Yeah, I've been a couple of times, yeah.
And I know that Mark Hoban down there has wanted to get us there anyway. I know he got you down there.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with what they've done down there.
Great setup.
It is a great setup. And to be fair to the police, I thought in the first half it was really close. But again, similar to how we were saying with Maryport, the police couldn't put their chances away. And York Acorn managed to go in at half-time 18 points to 0 up. In the second half, completely dominated, to be honest, by York Acorn. Yeah. Although the police did manage to get a try themselves through Phil Whittam. So just to run through perhaps a couple of the standout performances as far as I was concerned. So Matt Chilton at fullback got the official man of the match for York Acorn. I was really impressed with the winger Ben Husband, who scored a hat-trick of tries. He's a right chunky winger. Proved very, very difficult to handle, particularly in sort of like the 20-metre area. Yeah. You give him the ball there, and nearly every time he got it in that sort of position, he was over for a try, or certainly testing out the defence. They had another winger on the other side, Clayton Shepherdson, who's only quite a small player, but he gave his all. And then they've got a centre called Josh Thompson, who I am not joking, must be at least 6'8". He is a monster, and played really, really well. A really tough player. I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. In the end, it finished 52 points to 4 in favour of York Acorn. And after the match, I caught up with their newly appointed skipper Matt Chilton for a chat.
Okay, I'm alongside Matt Chilton. Matt, first of all, congratulations on the victory this afternoon here at Portico.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. It was good to get out here, wasn't it? That's the main thing. Get it out of the way.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'd never been here before. I didn't even know there was a team out here until about 2 years ago, really.
No, I've never, and when they said they played here, I've never heard of it. Obviously, we've come to St Helens for years, to different clubs, but no, I don't think any of the players that came up bus have ever been here, so nice to tick another one off the list, I suppose. How
was the game for you? I mean, it finished 52-4, bit physical at times.
Yeah, it was. They're a big set of lads, really. They probably don't train much all the time, but they're a big physical set, and they tried to give it to us, but it was just a very stop-start game, to be honest, playing, so it was a bit slow, but it was alright. It's done now, that's the main thing. We're into the next round.
I suppose, you just want to chalk it off at this time of year, don't you? How have you been in sort of like pre-season? Because it's still pretty early in pre-season, isn't it? We're 8 weeks away from the start of the national conference.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We had a couple of sessions before the Christmas break, and then we had one in between Christmas and New Year, which was alright, and then so we've had 4 or 5 sessions, but we've had to cancel some sessions because of the weather, obviously, so we've been going to a boxing gym near us, but it's been going alright. Being called off last week was probably good for us. We've had 2 good sessions this week, so then it was good preparation for this game today.
And I've got to say, some of that shape today looked pretty good. When the ball got out wide, I mean, you've got some massive players this year. Tell us a little bit about that back line. You have a really tall centre that I don't think he's played in.
No, he hasn't played for a few years. He played years ago, but then he had a bad accident at work. He broke his back and his neck or something at work. So he's been in a brace for a while, and he had a couple of years out, and now he's back and he wants to have a good go at it this year. And
to be fair, he was awesome today, wasn't he? He got the ball out for first try. I think, did he score 2 himself?
Yeah, he scored 2 himself, and he's just a big body. It's hard to handle, isn't he? how do you tackle someone that's 6'10"? You don't get much practice.
And also as well, if he's got to be told off by the referees to like that at him, you know, it's got to be an unusual
intimidating,
thing.
Isn't it, for a referee looking at him.
And then, have you got any other new guys that have?
We had the starting halfback today, the 7, Jack Green. He's come from York St John. He played at that York Barbarians last year, and he's signed for us this year. And he's brought another lad down from uni with him called Harry Kirk. So we've got them 2. Then Adam Speck's new as well this year. He hasn't played for a couple of years, so we've got a few back down. Yeah, so we've got a few new additions.
I mean, that really does widen your squad out somewhat, doesn't it? You know, because I think that's possibly what's counted against you in the last couple of years when you've got to like the back end of seasons. You've started the season particularly well. You've gone runs throughout the season, and then it's just got faded just in the.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot with us. We're all keen as anything at the start of the year, and then when it gets into summer, you've got people going on holidays, weddings, everyone going to festivals and stuff. So if we get a few more players this year, we've got a bit more depth. Hopefully we'll carry that on through all the summer months this year.
If I can quickly, get your thoughts on last season and the way that kind of went, because I mean, ultimately you finished in the playoff position. Was that an aim at the start of the year?
Yeah, we looked at the start of the year to always try and make playoffs. So we was pretty comfortable that we was going to be safe from relegation from the start of the year, and then the aim was always to try and get playoffs last year. Unfortunately, I booked my wedding the first week of the playoffs, so half of our players were in Cyprus with me.
I did. I thought there was quite a few names missing because I went over to Rochdale that day, and it wasn't the best reflection of a York Acorn side, I don't think.
No, like I say about the holidays, the week before we played Rochdale, there was about 10 lads in a beefer. So they got back and played straight away, and then the rest of our team was at my wedding in Cyprus, so we had a bit of a struggle that day. But
on that personal note though, good wedding.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, about 60, 70 people came to Cyprus. We got on drink all week, so yeah, we was all happy there.
Excellent. So obviously new season, a few new players. Are you a favour of these sort of earlier starts, or
I don't know really.
What's your sort of thoughts? I mean, obviously Wharf-Brow were quite forceful in the stance, and they pulled out of the competition, which is never a good look.
No, it's not a good look, but I think they've got every right to do it, really. Like the RFL guidelines, I have read them, obviously I'm not that bothered, but if they're that confusing, some clubs shouldn't be allowed to do contact and some shouldn't. Like, it's all the same, so I think they're fair enough for standing on what they want to do. And if they agree with that, then that's fair enough. It is a bit early, really, to play. If we'd have played last week, we would have had 2 sessions after the new year.
Oh, okay.
So last year, I think our first game was the 28th of January. At least that gives you 4 weeks to get after New Year to get ready for it. I think that's a bit better.
Yeah. Even so, I mean, there were still some really good signs today, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we looked quite good when we started throwing the ball around a bit. Obviously, it's not against the National Conference Premier side, so it's hard to see, but I thought we looked quite slick. Not too many errors when we're throwing the ball around, and that's the main thing, really, isn't it?
And what are you hoping for this year? Push again for the playoffs?
Yeah, same as last year. Just see how we go. Keep pushing. Obviously, we've got to practice a brand new shape that we're trying to play, and then just try to get the push towards the playoffs again. Because,
like you say, there's a few new lads in, isn't there? And obviously, hadn't stepped into the coaching role. He'd normally be alongside you, wouldn't he, on the field? And that's been for so long.
Yeah, he's been. I've played about 8 years up in age now, so he's been there all along, and he's been the halfback for the club for about 12 years. So it's going to be a big change because he's bossing. He normally bosses everyone around the field quite a lot more. So it's going to be a big change, but yeah, it should be all right.
And what about captain? Is this your first stint as captain?
Yeah.
Captain before?
I was only for the odd game that my brother didn't play last year, but yeah, this year's my first year as captain, so hopefully we'll have a good start. What
sort of captain are you? Are you the more vocal type, or are you more just follow me and I'll do what I can?
I'll try to be vocal. I'll talk to him a bit, and he's tried to calm everyone down today, so I've got to try to talk to him, but I'm just going to lead by example. Just keep training, keep doing everything right, and see how hopefully everyone follows me.
Matt, thank you so much.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show, discussing the greatest game at all grassroots levels.
Really enjoyed that chat with Matt Chilton. What a top guy, and interesting to hear sort of some of his thoughts as well about the Wharf-Brow situation, which we've already talked about on the show, and also as well just generally about season starts. And it was interesting him saying that he'd be in favour of a slightly later start, and we're only talking a couple more weeks, aren't we? But I think obviously I can see why the games have been scheduled in this period of time, and it's to bring forward an appearance at Wembley for the Challenge Cup, and probably at the time when they've got the booking, for the stadium. So they've got to bring everything forward, haven't they? But even so, really good to hear from him, and I hope it's a good season for York Acorn, because there's some good people involved.
Yeah, good club. I mean, I know when we went up there when they played Barrow last year in the Challenge Cup, we had a great time there. Apart from you falling off the scaffolding, obviously.
You've got to bring that up again. You know what? My hip is still not right.
But so we're going to now move on. So let's look at round 2 of the Challenge Cup. One of the standout fixtures, of course, is Blackbrook, and they're up against Ince Rose Bridge, a game which will take place on Sunday. And remember, you can actually catch it live with us. We'll be commentating on that on Mixler.
Yeah, and the link that you need, you was going to leave that link to me, wasn't you?
I was, yeah.
13proamcommunityRL.mixler.com, and then it's /events/3989 So that's 13proamcommunityRL.mixler.com /events/3989341. It's going to be a great match, that.
Yeah, it's another one of those where it's Northwest Men's versus NCL, and it's Saints versus Wigan, which is, you would have thought, okay, when that comes to community clubs, that won't count.
Oh, it does.
It certainly does.
Now, a little bit earlier this week, I spoke with Blackbrook head coach Paul Gartland to get his thoughts on their preparation and approach to the big game. We've got a big game coming on Sunday. We're going to be there, and we're going to be, bringing our own commentary to the proceedings. On the other end of the line, I've got Blackbrook head coach Paul Gartland. How are you doing, Paul? You all right, mate?
Yeah, very good, Dave. Yeah, pleased to be on. Nice to talk to you again.
Great to chat with you. I know it's been a little while, hasn't it, since we last had a conversation. If I can just start, first of all, by getting your reflections on, I suppose, that win in Wales, because it was a bit of an epic game in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The journey down doesn't help, really. I think it were about 4.5, 5 hours, and yeah, all credit to Aberhaven. They were a decent outfit, and it was certainly a test for us. And the last 15 minutes was crucial to us. We played it a little bit better later on in the game, and you know what, we just managed to get over the line with a decent win.
That's got to please you, hasn't it? With things coming together even at that stage. Or are you one of these coaches you prefer to get it done a little bit earlier?
No, not at all. You know what, a win's a win, isn't it? And it's the first game of the season, and for both teams and every team who played the first game, everything's a bit scratchy in it. So the more we went on in the game, the more they got themselves together and composed a little bit better, and opportunities arose and they took them. There was opportunities in the first half, and it was a little bit scratchy, but credit to their defence as well. So it certainly wasn't easy, and glad to get a victory. First game of the season's always good.
I bet you were pretty pleased as well that was one of only, 2 games that got played that weekend. I suppose you could sit back and watch everything else unfold this past weekend.
Yeah, it's been nice actually, and maybe the teams that played this weekend who've got to come to us, maybe they've got a fefew bumps and scrapes, so it might help. But yeah, the weather didn't help, did it? And it was glorious down there, I'll be honest with you. The pitch was perfect and everything was good. So, although I'm not saying it was a bad draw, it's just the travel, it's the hard work against it. It was good to get the game out of the way, and if we'd have had a draw up this end, then we'd have been backing up week on week. So, yeah, I'm grateful in the end that we had to go down there.
You've already paid tribute to Aberhaven for the way that they hosted the event. Do you see it as a positive that these sides from, I suppose, non-traditional rugby league areas are invited into the Challenge Cup?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and they've been invited in on merit. I think they won their playoff final against the Jets, I think, who come top of the league. So yeah, it's good, and it opens it up, and it's interesting. And we're going to a place where we've never been before, and similar to the Irish teams and the Scottish teams. So yeah, it's good, and everybody deserves the opportunity. And if we want to promote the game, then we've got to start somewhere. And the Challenge Cup, it's a pretty big impact in it to play in the Challenge Cup. So good on them. And like I say, we was pretty lucky in the end to get through.
You did get through, and I suppose you was looking out to see how Longhorns went against Ince Rose Bridge. Ince Rose Bridge got over the top of them, so they're going to be travelling over to your place at the weekend. I'm just trying to think, when would have been the last time that a Blackbrook team would have played Ince?
You know what? We played them a couple of years ago in the pre-season friendly.
Really? Okay.
Prior to that, I couldn't honestly tell you, but yeah. We're expecting it to be a little bit different against Ince, a little bit more organised, a bit more intense. So we'll see how we go. They had a good win at the weekend and racked up a few points.
And to be fair, it's the Saints and Wigan derby, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and they look pretty smart. I confess I went and watched them Saturday. Nothing else to do, I suppose. So I went and watched them, and they looked pretty good. The first half they blew them away, and it was game over. And maybe they rested on the laurels a little bit in the second half, or the Irish come back at them. But yeah, they look very, very good in the first 40.
And I suppose it's a chance to get a big crowd, isn't it, down at Blackbrook at the weekend?
It certainly is. It's all about money and revenue, and whether amateur teams progress through this round, then it does become very, very difficult. So the more revenue you can get in, home tie especially, then and we're hoping Morgan Knowles' testimonial was on Saturday. We have a few staff who actually work at Saints, so hence the Sunday, and hopefully it'll promote it and get a few more people and bodies over, and hopefully it's an entertaining game. Well,
that's worked out quite nice for me from a selfish point of view, to be honest, Paul, because it means I can go to a game on Saturday as well as Sunday. So, I get double the rugby league this weekend.
Yeah, everybody's a winner then, isn't it? That's why we did it, I'll be honest with you. So you
I've got to ask you about sort of Blackbrook and the way that you've been travelling over recent years, because a lot of people will be aware that the club spent some time in the National Conference League, didn't they, and then came out to, I suppose, reinvest in yourselves. I suppose there was a lot of things that were going on at the time, and players that were wanting to play more locally, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the big thing was numbers, and numbers kind of fell off. I think they progressed and done really well in the NCL, and won a lot of things NCL, and then that group of players suddenly goes, and maybe there wasn't as many going up from 18s, and they ended up with a squad that the capabilities they couldn't manage to put teams out week in, week out, and travel, and I think you need a pretty big squad in that kind of setup in the NCL where they weren't carrying that. So we've massively invested in the youth recently and kind of promoted the 18s to train with the first team and integrate them that way. And it's maybe an easier transition to come up from 18s into the open age. And we've certainly done that for the last 2 years, and it's boded well for us. And last year, I think we'll have had about 8 or 9 at least under 18s who played open age for us. Or we wouldn't have got through last season. That's the be-all and end-all of it. And it's worked out nice for us this season.
And obviously you've done that route as well, haven't you, with the coaching of the 18s and such?
Yeah, I was an 18s coach 6-7 years ago, something like that. Yeah,
it was an unbeaten side, I remember. I think that's the last time I spoke to you, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, we did pretty well. We had some decent lads in that team, and you know what, the bulk of them are still playing open age now, so I think there's still about 7 of them who are still turning out week in, week out, and they're the older heads in the open age at the minute. Below the 25 and 26 year old, it's down to 21 and then 20 and 3 or 4 18-year-olds. So it is a young side. It is a real young side.
And ultimately, that's the mark of the success, isn't it? You know, I mean, I know that there was a lot of good press around at that particular time about going unbeaten and things like that, but you're always thinking longer term, aren't you? And if, like you said, you can look now, 6-7 years later, and there's half of the first team squad that have come through that setup. You know it was a good setup, and you know you was doing the right things as a club, don't you?
Yeah, it wasn't. You know, like I say, we had a lot of ex-Scholar players who come back to Blackbrook who've maybe been released or have been released, and then a couple of academy kids come back. So we had a decent outfit, and that's why we did well, basically. And to keep them, they're all good mates, they're all close-knit, and it was an easy transition for them lads to go up to the open age. And that's when I went up, and Ant Walker was coach at the time, so I started giving Ant a lift, and next thing you know, it's all left to me, and keep cracking on and do it, and you know what, I enjoy doing it, so I'll continue to do that until I don't.
How would you rate last season then? Because did you finish top 4 in the end?
Yeah, so we was third last season.
Okay.
Yeah, which was all right for us. It was all right for us. I think the season before that we might have been 5th or something like that. But like I say, I think last season we went through 46 different players. So it's not the kind of turnover of players you want. And to that detriment, our 18s struggled to finish the season because ultimately they were playing for me every Saturday and struggling to turn around and play Sunday. So that was the downside to it. But ultimately they've pulled through and done well this season, and numbers at training's been massive for us last season and this season with the 18s joining in, because some sessions we were 8, 9, 10 lads, and sometimes through no fault of their own, work commitments, injuries, etc., and our under 18s proper pulled us out last season.
And if I can come back, because you mentioned something about lads coming back to the club. You've got a couple of lads that have come back from having a go at semi-pro level rugby league, haven't you, this season? Yeah, we have. We've Paul Nash has come back, who played for me for my team. Yeah, so he was at Saints and then Swinton and North Wales, I think, was the last club. And Danny Moss, who was 2 years younger, he's come back into the fore with us as well, who had a little bit of experience into us, and they're just a bit smarter and a bit quicker, and that's not taking anything away from the other lad. It's obviously just the setup they've been used to, and yeah, that's helped us. That's really helped us this season. But that's also going to bring those other lads on around them, isn't it? Yeah, it wasn't. You know what, that showed at Aberhaven when maybe we'd have panicked a little bit last season at that stage, and they just kept them steady and kept them ploughing through sets and doing the things we have been doing, and it turned around in the last 15. And yeah, Paul Nash and Danny Moss, and there's another half-back, Mike Wim. They were pretty smart last week, along with a couple of back rowers and middle. So yeah, more than impressed with them at the moment. I think I caught one of your late season games, and Mikey Wynn scored a hat-trick that night, if I remember. Yeah. So Mike's been down there. I think he come at under 18s, and so he's been there a fair bit now. And yeah, he's smart, Mike. He's pretty quick, and he can read a game, and great kicking game as well. So he's done really well the last few years. He was Player of the Year last season. He was pretty much head and shoulders in most of the games. So you've got this cup game this coming weekend. Hopefully you get through that with a victory and onto a third round tie. What does the rest of your sort of pre-season look like then? Because there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, then, between sort of that third round or the second round and when your fixtures will start. I'm thinking mid-March, isn't it, I think, for North West men's? Yeah, I don't know if the fixtures are out as of yet, but it will be in and around that time. So we need to think past, should we beat Ince and be lucky enough to go to Featherstone? Yeah, we need to probably get a game or 2 games in prior to the season starting. And, I think we're running with about 24 lads at the minute. So there's some lads who've had no rugby as of yet. So we want to get a game so they get some minutes under the belts, because, every one of them 24 lads are going to be used at some point in the season. And we need to get some rugby into them. And contact sessions are a bit limited at the moment with the new laws that the RFL have put in, and trying to get some physical contact into them seems to be just through games at the minute, and not training sessions as we probably could have done in the past. I mean, that's a little bit of something different, and I suppose a testing element for you from a coach's point of view as well. Yeah, it's pretty hard, and we go into the first game against Aberhaven, and due to the weather and different circumstances, we hadn't run a proper contact session, should we say. So to go straight into that game was pretty good, and there were certainly some bumps and bruises on the Tuesday night and the Thursday. So yeah, it's hard, but it is what it is, and every club's got to deal with it. And we could all moan about it. We've just got to crack on and get on with it, I suppose. This is true. How do you rate, how the league is shaping up for next season and in the Prem in the North West men's?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty competitive, even from the the bottom upwards. Any team can turn anybody over. Finch were on a hell of a roll last season, and went unbeaten, and they were a good physical team, and they played a bit of rugby as well. But from the bottom clubs, I think we went to Shevington, who maybe struggled on numbers, and we went to Shevington, and we was guaranteed third, and maybe we thought we'd roll them, and they turned us over. It's competitive throughout. I know Ashton have come a bit lower than what they have done in the few seasons, but I think they've run 2 under-18 teams last season, so they're going to be full of numbers this season. So yeah, it's very good. And then Orrell obviously run Thatterweath pretty close on Sunday just gone. So I think it is a good standard, and I don't think there's a massive gap from North West men's to a couple of divisions in the NCL. I don't think there is.
I'm also guessing as well, that you can use some of the performances of, you mentioned, a couple of the other NCL, a couple of how the other NCL clubs have gone against North West men's sides. You can use that as a bit of a yardstick of where you are, I suppose, can't you? Because like you say, it was a really, really close run thing in the end between Thatto and Orrell St James, and then Hurstfinch took Dewsbury Moor all the way as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and they're two really good teams from last season, and Hurstfinch won it. I think Orrell was second last season, so they are the two good sides, and I have no doubt they could go in the LCL and hold their own, and I don't just mean in the lower divisions. I think they'd hold their own in the first and the Prem. So yeah, I think the standard in North West Men's League has gone better, and it's a good thing. A lot of teams, and a lot to do with funding when you're in the NCL. If you're travelling over to Yorkshire and Cumbria every other week, there's a cost to it. So. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to stay in that division.
Mm-hmm. Might it be something that the club is looking to do in a few years' time again, or are you concentrating solely on becoming, one of those leading lights in the North West Men's for the time being?
Yeah, I think for this season and next season, definitely it will just be North West Men's League, and we need to get a second team into place, which... we're trying to do at this moment in time, but again, numbers, it's hard to do. And I think unless you've got a second team, you need that constant amount of turnover of players. And I don't think you could, we'll struggle to go through the Prem this season with 24 players. So again, we'll be dipping into our 18s, and I don't really think we want to be dipping into an 18s if we're playing in a national conference. I'm not saying we wouldn't, but I think you need a second team to just give you that little bit of strength in depth and, numbers to rely on. There's lads' holidays, there's stag do's, there's more excuses than that I could go into, but I won't do. But, you can't, we could not run that on 24 players.
Mm-hmm. Paul, really appreciate the chat. Thank you ever so much for some of those candid answers as well, and I look forward to catching up with you at the weekend for the big game, which is Sunday 2 p.m. It's Challenge Cup round 2. It's that small matter of a Wigan and Saints derby. It's Blackbrook taking on Ince Rose Bridge. I'll see you there, Paul.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Green Cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
I ain't got to say though, Parky, good interview though, a great bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, really enjoyed having a chat with him there, and he gave some real candid answers and gave a couple of really good insights as well. So, for example, I think them getting Paul Nash back this year after spending time we're starting off at St Helens, playing for Swinton, playing for North Wales Crusaders, and he's got Dan Moss coming in as well, who also will offer a lot to his side. Yeah. And we talked there about his existing halfbacks in Mikey Wynn, who I remember seeing him last season scoring a hat-trick in a game. So, they're a side that could pose a couple of issues for Ince Rose Bridge. However, Ince themselves are a strong outfit. We saw them couple of times last season, didn't we? And they had, particularly at home, they had some really, really good and big performances. They've obviously got to replicate that going away.
There seem the sign that once they get on a roll, they are hard to stop, and I think that's the thing. I think if you can keep them, out of the numbers early doors, then you've got a game on in that sort of sense. But from a Blackbrook point of view, they're a club that have always had players who've gone on to from over to the professional side, whether it be scholarship or academy, or even into sort of to be professional. We've got to look at James Graham and James Roby for two from a Saints point of view. But there's lots gone from there. The good thing there is something that we've gone on about in the past for a few seasons, about when those lads don't make it at scholarship or academy, that they're lost. We see a lot of those, and it's still happening. But it's great to see so many of those going back to their old club, knowing that we can still do a job, as it were.
And also as well, I'm glad that he kind of shares my sort of philosophy when it comes to youth rugby. It's not always about what you win as a youth coach, especially when you get into sort of under 18s. It's how many players you can get into that first team. I think that's a real mark of it, to be honest. So to hear so many of those lads, which Paul coached successfully at that level, now turning out in the first team for Blackbrook is like music to my ears. Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah, it is. And again, there's there's another double-edged sword there, isn't there? You want the lads to be, first and foremost, you want them to be good good rugby players so they can move on. But the other part of it at that age is you're coaching them to being good men as well, aren't you?
Definitely.
Putting those values in. And obviously he's done something right there, that those lads want to go back and play for him and play for Blackbrook, even though they've not made it, certainly at the moment, at the sort of the professional level. Some of them might be happy with playing that level and seeing how they go there. But hats off to him, and it's going to be great catching up with there at Blackbrook and obviously the guys at Ince who we'd been chatting to at the end of last season when they played Crosfields, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's funny how things go in circles, isn't it, for us. But 13 Pro-Am Community RL.mixler.com/events/398 9341 is what you need to go on. So that is 13 Pro-Am Community RL.mixler.com/events/398 9341, and you will be able to catch us on Sunday afternoon. I want to take a quick ganders through the other round 2 clashes in the Challenge Cup. So action starts on Saturday. London Broncos against Goole Vikings. That's going to be a televised game via the BBC. So a fascinating encounter when you consider that London Broncos have they've had a bit of a traumatic, I suppose, post-season and what have you. And you've got Goole, who's brand new. Certainly for putting a semi-professional side out. So that's going to be interesting.
Wasn't there whispers about London being invested in by the NRL?
There was. Yeah. Well, there's been a couple of talks, hasn't there? So the first one came out a few weeks ago where they were linking Robbie Farrer, who used to play with Western Tigers, with a takeover. And now the latest thing is Brisbane Broncos looking to invest once more in London Broncos. I feel like we're going back about 30 years.
Yeah.
This is a discussion that I'm sure if I'd known you 30 years ago, we'd have had this chat, wouldn't we? So I feel like I'm repeating it somewhat. But we always say things go around in circles in Rugby League.
Certainly do.
So, other games to look out for: York Acorn at home against Alton Raiders. Now, the winner of that is due to play Hull at home. But obviously we'll wait and see whether or not that actually happens, because I did mention about Waterhead getting through before. They were unable to book something locally, so that game against Featherstone Rovers has been switched to Featherstone. Dewsbury Moor at home against Dewsbury Rams, this one being played at Batley Stadium.
Because I was just going to say, I know Dewsbury had offered to host that, and it was turned down, wasn't it?
Don't believe everything that you hear, and because there was a bit of a, I won't say spat, but there was an interesting response to some of the things that were being said by Christian over at Dewsbury Moor yesterday on social media. So don't fall into the trap of what's happened there. What we might look at doing in the next few weeks is actually get Christian on himself to maybe
I'm sure he'll come on and straighten things out
and tell us what was the lay of the land and how come this game is being played in Batley, by the way. But nonetheless, a fantastic occasion.
Yeah.
When you get two Dewsbury clubs going up against
there'll be some support there. And certainly I know we know Dewsbury Moor Maroons will have a decent support.
I don't think Hunslet will have things all their own way. I know they've just got promoted into the Championship, but they're going to play at Loch Lane on Saturday as well. And there's one thing I know about Paul Couch is that he'll have his side well drilled.
Yeah.
They'll know what they're going to expect going up against Hunslet.
Well, the thing is, Couch, he'll know a lot of those players, won't he? From the,
he'll have done his homework.
The Lions side, yeah.
He'll have done his homework. Another interesting tie on Saturday, West's Warriors are up against the Army. So that's going to be fascinating. Yeah. If I could choose just one other game to be at, and I know I'm at 2 this weekend, but you know me, I'm always greedy. I'm always looking for another game where I wish I was, and it'd be over at Hunslet ARLFC playing against West Hull. Now, in years gone by, you'd be thinking that's NCL Grand Final written all over it, isn't it?
Time for time, yeah.
So that big clash. I'm looking forward to whatever happens in that game and seeing some video of it, video footage afterwards. Whitehaven hosts Swinton. Oldham are at home to Rochdale Mayfield. So I mean, if Rochdale Mayfield can cause a few issues there,
another derby, Rochdale and Oldham.
It's another derby, and Rochdale Mayfield have actually played at Boundary Park.
Yeah.
So the Standard Cup, the Oldham Standard Cup. They've played a couple of finals there in recent seasons. Royal Navy, they're at home against Workington Town. That's a tie that you'll be able to watch via the Forces, British Forces News website. And strangely enough, the winner of that then gets to host Lee in the third round of the Challenge Cup. We've got our game, Blackbrook against Ince Rose Bridge, which I am really looking forward to. Midlands Hurricanes are making a few ripples. They defeated Batley last week in a pre-season friendly, and they're going to be hosting Siddle. So that is going to be fascinating. Then you've got Bradford hosting Doncaster, Halifax at home to Thatto Heath. I wish that was the other way around.
Yeah. And do you know what? Tattsworth could have hosted that because they've done it in the past. No problem. I know certainly Dewsbury, I think, might have been the last team they hosted.
And North Wales Crusaders in recent seasons as well. Crosfields, we mentioned them going away to Barrow Raiders. We've heard about that. Rochdale are at home to Widnes. Sheffield host West Bowling, and North Wales Crusaders have just around the corner trip to Cornwall, with Newcastle Thunder up against the Batley Bulldogs. And the one game that is going to get televised next weekend, I think, is Keighley Cougars against York. So that's not being played this week because York are away in Amsterdam playing Hull Kingston Rovers.
Oh yeah, I remember there being talk about this. It wasn't they saying it was the sort of their equivalent of Warrington playing Wigan in Las Vegas?
Yeah. Which again, I think he's great for the sport. I really do.
Gets
love
eyes
that,
on, doesn't it?
To be fair.
Yeah. Right. Moving on, we've got something called our social media spotlight, and we've been keeping an eye on what's trending in the rugby league world. And Parky's got some highlights of things that are going on. Parky, over to you.
So I've got a few things that I've picked out over the last couple of days that I've been keeping my eye on. Got to say, Keighley Albion have released some new threads for next season. It's a gorgeous strip. I'm a big fan of black kits, by the way. So it's like black with a white and red trim. It is gorgeous. I want one. And you know me and gear.
The merch king, trust me. Trust me.
But this is
and he wears it all up once, that's the thing.
Well, you've got to do. I can't afford the central heating, so you've got to put the layers on. Keighley Albion releasing that kit. Elsewhere, Wigan St Jude's have become the latest side to do a joint training session with the semi-professional side. Yeah. So Swinton Lions, who just a few weeks ago did a session with Lee Miners, they hosted Wigan St Jude's on Tuesday night. So that's fantastic to see semi-pro sides working alongside community sides and developing there. We mentioned about Jack McShane in our first episode of the season, and I mentioned that he was on trial at Dewsbury Rams.
That's right, yeah.
Just as we're recording, so you can't get much more current than this.
Wow, breaking news.
Yeah, he's been announced as signing a 1-year contract with Dewsbury Rams, so all the best to Jack. He'll kill it. I'm confident. He is a top lad, a top player, and certainly Hunslet ARLFC's loss is Dewsbury's gain.
Do we have a feeling he might be up against Dewsbury Moor Maroons at the weekend?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Now, Milford, they've put a couple of announcements out over the last couple of days. So they've announced the captain for next season, Callum Clark, and the vice-captain, which is a lad called Joe Tham. And also, they've just announced a leadership team as well, which is...
Talk amongst yourselves while he finds out.
Jake Payne, Dave Watmoe and Josh Kaywood. So all those lads been involved with Milford for a number of years, and I think that they'll do a fantastic job there. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then finally Beverley, they've announced a couple of pre-season friendlies. So if you're over on that side of the country, get yourself to these if you possibly can. So on the 23rd of February, they're playing Hull Dockers on the new 4G pitch at Hull Kingston Rovers. So this was the one which they built at the side of the pitch, at the side of the main pitch. And then on the 1st of March, they're away to Heworth with a 2 o'clock kickoff. 2:30 for that game, by the way, on the 23rd of February. And then a 2 o'clock start for the game away at Heworth on the 1st of March. So those are your rugby league trends for this week. We'll have a few more of these next week, and we'll look to bring you the news as we get it, won't we, Steve?
We certainly will. And, it looks as though that wraps up another packed episode of the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. Thanks to all our guests and listeners for tuning in.
And we'll be back next week with more interviews, updates and highlights from the Community Rugby League scene. Until then, take care, enjoy the rugby, and remember, you can tune in to us on Saturday, 13 Pro-Am Community rl.mixler.com/events/3989341.
Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.